So, how's everybody been doing with their lucid dreaming? I'd love to start by talking a little bit about what you've been practicing, taking a look at some of the areas that have been challenging for you, and answer some questions about that. And then we're just going to review and I'll ask you guys some questions to kind of troubleshoot any kind of issues that are happening. Um, and let's see, let's begin. Who wants to start? How many of you have been able to do the homework, which is get a notebook, write down the dreams, set your alarms? How many of you have been able to do any of that? And let me know how it's been going for you. Anybody that wants to share?
Okay, I go first.
Hi, Charles. Yes.
So I noticed that the time that I can remember my dream, and at least I know that I'm dreaming or lucid dreaming, is usually in the morning when I always wake up and then try to go back to sleep again, right? Oh,
Yes.
hold on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm on.
So if you're not able to stay for the whole Q&A, that's okay. You know, what I would love is for you to ask your questions if you can before you leave. And then I'm going to record the answer for you here so that it's here in the replay. Okay. And I do have
Yeah,
a couple
sorry, I'm back.
questions that I have. Okay. Thank you, Charles. I do have a couple questions that I have from other members that were here in the class, and I'll be asking those questions as well, so that maybe you guys have the same questions. Okay, Charles, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so I was able to record a dream. So interesting. One of the recurring dream that I tend to have is that um, I realized I'm in training, like in a class, and
Uh-huh.
tomorrow is test day, and I have no idea if I have no idea that I study or not. And I have decided, oh my God, I'm gonna fail. Test is tomorrow. I did no homework, and it seemed like this is a recurring dream of mine.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, very good,
Yeah.
excellent.
Mhm.
So before I jump into that, what um, have you had a chance to sit and meditate with this dream yourself?
Yeah, I noticed that this dream usually come around a certain anxiety that, I have certain homework or things to do and I haven't finished or complete. So somehow it usually enter in my dream. It's kind of like a sense of kind of like a reminder, I believe. Mhm.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
definitely has a lot to do with being prepared, right?
Mhm.
So subconsciously there's a belief system that we are not prepared somehow, or and this really at the core trickles down to worthiness, any programs of worthiness that we have, unworthiness, worthiness, and how we are handling those emotions.
Mhm.
And so I'm glad you asked the question, because what I will discuss, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the class, but how do we understand what dreams are and how do we meditate on them? Essentially, we want to look at the emotions that have come up. And
Mhm.
that usually will be a pretty strong feeling that it leaves behind, whatever imagery we're seeing, whatever sensations, the feeling of the space around you, whether there's light, whether there's dark. These are the kinds of symbolic cues
Mhm.
that we are training ourselves to pick up on through the five senses. And this is exactly the same as in the waking state when you're using your five senses to tune into your surroundings using your intuition. It's
Mhm.
exactly the same thing in dream state. As you're cultivating those intuitive faculties, in dream state, you are nothing but those intuitive faculties. Okay, so those are essentially the antennas that will translate the experience into information for you. So as soon as you start having a dream that is reoccurring like this, and it leaves
Mhm.
a certain sensation, as soon as you wake up in
Mhm.
the body, usually if it's very vivid, a lot of people don't even remember the whole dream in detail. They just have the feeling in the body that's left
Yes.
with them. Do
Mhm.
not ignore that feeling that you wake up with, because
Mhm.
this is a form of also venting that we're doing emotionally, because there's something that has to come up to the surface. And
Hmm.
if a lot of us are disconnected from the body during the waking state, or we're distracted in our life and we're not focusing on our emotion mind body connection through the day waking state, then
Hmm.
in dream time it will be expressed as these reoccurring dreams, as a message for the soul to wake up consciousness into what it needs to address ASAP. And a lot of times, we haven't talked about this, but the law of accident is also very much something that manifests itself in dream state. Okay, so again, for those of you that don't know what the law of accident is, essentially one of the laws of the universe is that when the vibrational frequency of the human body enters a really low state and it falls out of resonance with the collective, it'll experience in the physical realm events that will shock it out of this dormant state into a state of awareness, where it brings itself back into alignment. This can be a car accident, it can be a paper cut, it can be whatever um, occurs to them. It can be a breakup, a financial situation in the family, whatever it is, will wake it up out of that comfort zone of escape that the human is usually going through. And so this, what will happen is in dream time, we will have reoccurring dreams that will play on that subconscious emotion, turn it into symbols, which we need to learn how to translate essentially. And so, as you know, the shamans, all the shamans of the ancient world, use dreams, dream walkers, dreams catchers, dreams in order to get the messages that are needed from the higher self. And so, ultimately, what we want to do is we want to open up that veil between the dream state and the waking state, so that we can receive that information fluidly, openly, and be conscious of what's being given, what's being communicated to us. So yeah, so that's a really powerful dream, Charles, that you're having. And you know, trickling down to being prepared, the emotions around, uh, you know, or perhaps always needing to prepare more, like feeling that we
Hmm.
don't have enough, readiness, preparedness in order to move forward in whatever project we're doing. Um, yeah, so sit with that feeling deeply and then look at what starts coming up as we do in DNA reprogramming and in our coaching.
Hmm.
Charles is familiar with that. So when you're sitting with the emotion, just allow it to come up and start unpacking there. Okay. And what's going
Hmm.
to happen is if you neutralize, if you really understand, it shouldn't take very long. Just sit with the emotion, see what comes up, and it'll clarify for you why you have this belief, and you have to assess whether you want to continue to embody that belief, or what can you do to transmute that. What
Hmm.
changes do you have to make to your mind and beliefs about yourself in order to shift that belief system? And what will happen is that the dream will change. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I want to add one more element to this, which has to do with past lives. That sometimes this is not just about your waking state, it's
Hmm.
also your soul contracts. Okay. So the dream can also be a kind of metaphor or symbolic manifestation of yourself as a journey of a soul in the bigger picture of things. In
Hmm.
all your lifetimes, do you feel prepared to embody and overcome this life? And all of you that are here, are here many, many lifetimes, already reaching very heightened states of ascension in this lifetime. So there's some final little things that have to be addressed for you to move and shift in this experience. So this dream can also pertain to that soul evolution, and so keep that in mind. It's good to look at the immediate and then also broader perspective of your soul, and use these dreams to understand that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what the issue is. So I think we will work at that on the next coaching session. I know
Oh,
exactly what it
good.
is. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exciting. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Charles. Anyone else? Or who's next, actually?
I've been I'm not traditionally a person who remembers my dreams, although I do keep a book beside my bed. And when I when I think about it, I do write them down and review them, every 6 weeks or thereabouts. During the last year or more, I'm much more more able to live in the moment and even check my emotions during the day. I do not set an alarm. My days vary a lot. I guess from day to day, I don't really have a consistent schedule or consistent people that I interact with all the time. But something that came up, I wasn't on the live session, but in the recording, something that came up was root chakra trauma that may interfere with remembering dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know that I'm probably more connected in my headspace and up in maybe my eighth chakra than I am in my root chakra or being grounded. And I don't know how to deal with that.
Okay.
I'm pretty diligent on trying to work with it, but I know there's a block somewhere.
Okay. Actually, great. It's the opposite. Let me tell you why. When we're in our
Okay.
head, in the head space, in the analytical mind, it's actually directly correlated to the root chakra. Okay, because it's survival mode. The analytical mind is specifically designed to help you navigate your state of survival constantly. And what happens as a result of the survival is that you don't want to be in the body, you want to leave the body. So actually you're up here, you're not embodied completely in the physical, but you're hovering, your essence is hovering over the physical. And so that makes it very hard for you to get really connected with emotions, your emotions and your intuition, because the antidote to the survival mechanism in the root is the intuition. That would be the direct opposite of that. And the cultivation of the intuition essentially will slowly, gently with time and regulating the nervous system so that you feel safe being fully in the body. Because as a child, and this happens to everyone, in our childhood, we just felt like it wasn't very safe to be expressed as a human expression in the physical body. And so, training to leave the body constantly throughout our life. So our ability to be able to integrate the intuition will actually open up the crown, the eighth chakra, which is the center of manifestation. Mm-hmm. So your manifestation faculties, the eighth chakra, really can only come online when you master the root. It really can only come online because the root chakra, being deeply connected with the material physical realm in a state of survival, there's a very, very strong, powerful filter that doesn't allow you to come into that subtle, divine, feminine part of us, which is looking for the intuition, which is the incredible trust in the self, that regardless what is happening external to us, we are deeply safe because we understand we are the physical. But let's say in the moment, in the time of death or in the time of danger or pain or suffering, we understand that we are also the non-physical. And from that understanding, having the mastery over the physical to transmute those uncomfortable situations into something that is productive and healing for yourself. So that's something that we are training ourselves to do. And so I guess a couple steps for you in healing the root chakra. Number one, so take a look at your survival belief systems. Okay, how much of we'll start with your day. How much of your day is designed to maintain you in survival mode? Okay, and so at first it might feel really difficult. We might resist looking at some of these parts of us because we think that they're logical and they're necessary. But I want you to push yourself to go beyond that to the most subtle part of you, the part of you that created all of these things around us in order to create separation or distance between ourselves and others, and the things that are somewhat not intimidating, but the things that we fear or the things that make us feel vulnerable. Okay, so when we work with survival, the next study area is vulnerability. Okay, we need to train ourselves to be absolutely safe in a state of vulnerability, and that's usually the hardest part. That's where you're going to find your gold, and that's how you heal the root chakra. Because if you can train yourself to be safe in vulnerability, that's it. Uh, you are infinite potential. Okay, and so that's how you move those root chakra blockages. Now, I also mentioned in the class that sexual trauma is a really big element to that. So take a look at relationship with sex. Why? Because this is sexual energy is creative energy, creative life force. And anytime we have an inversion use of sexual creative energy, we block our ability to connect, especially to the eighth chakra, because it's manifestation. So everything to do with exchanges. Okay, so this is the third part of this. Directly connected to vulnerability is our ability to exchange in a way that's balanced and safe. So in what areas of our lives do we exchange in a way that's imbalanced? Do we give more than we're receiving? Do we receive more than we're giving? And then when we give, do we feel completely betrayed or hurt, when we open ourselves up to another human, in any human? And so what happens is that this creates a dynamic of deep, profound wounds of ancestral trauma around vulnerability. So that's really the core. We have to learn how to create really strong awareness of our needs and not feel any shame, guilt around our needs, whatever those needs are. We have to make very, not only peace, but integrate deeply with those. And then from there, that will build a foundation for vulnerability because you will know yourself inside out. And then from there, it will help you build that root chakra. So this is like foundation for you to begin to open up that root. Of course, there's energetic work that you can do in addition to that, but this is the deeper work that you need to address first if you want to address that part of you. And then energetically, spinning the chakras are extremely important because we're energy systems, right? So if you have a lot of these blockages I mentioned before, or maybe one or two or one of them in the root chakra, you guys will feel them. You'll feel them. You'll know that there's something that comes up for you. So this is energy, okay? So you can clear this chakra system. So use your intuition, imagination, tune into the root chakra, take a look at that entire body. If it's filled and stagnant and dark and difficult to visualize, it's full of stuff. It's full of these exact thoughts and beliefs. So another way to help yourself clear them out smoothly is by clearing them out, literally removing them out of your energetic space. And of course, you can do qigong for this as well, but sometimes we don't have time to cultivate that practice. So sit in meditation for 20 minutes, clear, spin the chakras really fast, bring white source light, and clear out those blockages, and it will shift your energy completely. And so I advise to do these both things hand in hand. What will happen as you do this, let's say 30 days, 60 days, it transform completely your subconscious belief systems. And when you go into dream state, you will open up another layer because now that you've unclogged, and again, this work is not just with the root, it's with the sacral and the solar, as I mentioned, because we have to integrate those first three chakras to open up that lower dantian. Okay, as you create a really nice, strong foundation, mastery over the physical, now, when you open your heart, it'll open very beautifully and wide and open your throat and your third eye, which will heighten your intuition naturally. Okay, and then from there, the invitation is for you to train that intuition as much as possible. And only when you clear those out, really, because it goes hand in hand. Okay, it goes hand in hand. So your intuition will clear up naturally as you clear up your chakra system, but also what you intuit won't be filtered by the debris that you have in your first three chakras, because that's what happens. There's even psychics, incredible psychics, but the problem is that they have too many filters that are from the lower chakras, and so they only see this information through the filter of the chakra. So you want to avoid that by trying to clear up as much. And this is relevant because dream state is going to be a direct reflection of this work that you're doing. It'll also open up the memory. Because one last thing I'll say before we move to the next question is that the clearing of your multidimensional body, your emotional stagnation, is essentially your ability to activate DNA, as you know, raise your vibrational frequency, but also you're purifying, let's say, refining your frequency of lucidity. You're refining it. And so you want to do that in this dream state. And then what was the other thing? Yeah, so I guess another part is that if you have a lot of blockages down there, your dreams will also be very, very obscure, very dark, hard to define, hard to make sense. And also, sometimes you might have nightmares. Like some people with really, really bad heaviness down there have very bad nightmares all the time. This is like attachments. People call them attachments, and they even call it satanic abuse or satanic attacks or something like this. But it's all within us, so we just have to clear that out. So I hope I answered your question, Greg.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Let's go to Javier.
Hello. I don't know if you got my emails because I sent some questions.
Oh, did you? Let me see if I can grab
Yeah.
that from.
And I sent several questions, so you can pick whatever is more relevant because some of them were a little bit not specific but related.
Let me see. Oh, okay. Okay, this is you're talking to me about a multi-level dream?
Yeah.
Is that the one? I never had something like that before.
Well,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So what happened is that after we had the class, 3 or 4 days later, I was watching the recording, and I fell asleep the last hour. And then when I woke up, the recording was over. So I probably watched sleeping, or I heard sleeping a full hour. I went to
Yeah.
bed because I was tired, and I had the most amazing dream I ever had because it was like Inception that we were talking about. You were talking
Yeah.
about because I woke up and then I was remembering what I did last night because I woke up in a place that I didn't recognize. But anyways, but to me it was my reality. I was super sure that it was my reality. And then at some point, to make the story short, I woke up again and I was like, oh, I was dreaming, and that was another dream. So it happened like 3 times. And eventually, I finally woke up to this reality. And I was questioning, am I really awake or not? Because I was remembering every
Wow.
previous stage.
Yep.
So that was pretty much the experience. And when I woke up to this reality, I was doing the who am I, what I am, what am I feeling, all these things, right?
Yeah.
That I've been trying to do as I can, not perfectly, but yeah, no, it was a very profound experience, and to me, each one of these realities look like the real one, so it makes me feel now like this reality, to call it that way, is not better or special or the primary one, because all of the others seem it's actually sometimes more real, right?
Yep. Wow, excellent, excellent. Okay, so great. So when these dreams start happening, you're literally breaking this illusion of, in a sense, reality. Okay, so you're really merging. So what's happening is that you're waking up higher aspects of yourself. or so the soul as a whole is refracted within these dimensional expressions, right? And so what happens is that you're waking up those layers. So very powerful point to be in. Don't be afraid and don't lose this. Try to now in your dreams wake up the consciousness just the way you've learned, because now you've experienced something. You felt the awakening, and then understanding, assessing your environment to see if it's real. And essentially what you're going to find out is very, very hard to differentiate the difference between the dream state and the real state. That's exactly the point of lucidity that you want to access. So excellent. Okay. Next step. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask, the only thing that I haven't been able to do is in my dream remember what to do these things, right? Because I don't know, I didn't think of that.
That's okay.
So yeah,
it's going to take time. That's okay. It's just a matter of time. But this is an excellent first step that happens to a lot of my students when they're starting to break that illusion of the physical realm. Okay, so it's amazing. And so I guess a couple things that I can tell you from experience myself and working with my students, essentially, sometimes when next time we have this dream, these kinds of dreams, we get kind of scared, because as you enter into these realms, sometimes they will become, you're going to go higher into different realms. And you have to be able to train neutrality within you. Try, and that's actually the most powerful thing and exercise that you can train in this state. As soon as you become aware of your surroundings and you realize it's a dream, or you're asking if it's a dream, immediately assess what you're doing, and try to regain lucidity to begin to navigate this construct as quickly as possible. So this is something that you can kind of prepare yourself. And how we're going to do that is by doing it in the waking state. So in waking state, you're here, you're in your room, you're looking around in your environment, and as you wake up consciousness and you remember who you are, you can do the grounding techniques that I mentioned. Just completely connect to your physical body, understand where you are in this spatial awareness, and then begin to understand what is the most conscious next thing to do in this current state of awakening. And so you might think this is simple, but actually it's kind of hard, because now you have to really understand what would be a conscious act. Okay. And I guess the world has changed a lot now. So a lot of us are working from home. We have our everyday 9 to 5 work, of course. But even within that work, are you able to be completely clear enough to know what is the next thing on your to-do list that would be the most productive in that moment? And really, the only time you're really going to know that is if you're truly in alignment with yourself, what you're doing, and then consciously choose that. Because we can choose to do all kinds of little side projects and distractions. That's already going back to sleep again. Okay, so to sustain the state of conscious awareness is going to require higher alertness, higher awareness of yourself. So this is something that I would suggest training as your next step. And do it in waking state, so that what happens is that when you do it as an actual practice during your waking state, when you go to sleep, you're going to start automatically doing that as well. And I know this for a fact, with not only my own personal training, but also with many of my students, that they begin to experience in their dream state, that they know how to do this energy work. They know how to do this energetic hygiene, which is so important when you enter these dream realms. Okay, because nothing is exactly what it seems, but the dream will become clearer to you as you become more lucid. Because there's something called a screening element. Okay, so the screen element will pull pictures from our subconscious mind to make something familiar to us. But as you wake up consciousness and as you clear up the junk in the subconscious mind, what you see will be more true, closer to its ultimate truth. Then and a lot of the times that truth is beyond human conceptualization, because we are entering into dimensional realms that are constructs that are not based on our laws. They're not based on laws of physics, laws of the universe. They are something that break our understanding of reality completely. So the higher you go, the more you clear your body, the more these realms will reveal their true nature to us. Everything is waking up consciousness. Everything is revealing its nature. Go ahead.
So you mentioned before going to bed to clear out of the stuff that we did through the day, and when we wake up, do the same with the dream, right? To start clear. So when we go to bed, like we clear ourselves of thoughts and stuff of the day, but also should be good to focus on what I want to experience, like what you say, if I want to have more clarity or more messages, or just clear my mind is better before going to
Okay.
bed.
Well, no. See, the thing is, what we're trying to cultivate here is not the experience of waking up conscious in lucidity. It's the mastery of yourself as a human and a soul. That's the goal. If that's your goal, you're welcome to experience the sensations of the dreams as well. But if that's your goal, to wake up consciousness, then it's the mastery of yourself and your senses, all of your senses and your higher faculties. So that being said, we want to train our intuition, and we want to train the ability to navigate any realm with lucidity. So in order to train lucidity, we have to have intuition. So reason why we clear the mind and the body is because we want to refine our processing system to come into alignment with the present moment as much as possible. Because only in the present moment does the human have biophysical, biochemical input, charge into this creation system. Okay. And it's the same in dream state. So, what we're clearing out is all the debris that doesn't allow us to come fully into the present moment of awareness. And remember, that's not just a state of mind. It's an architecture of the body, which means you are grounded. You're coming into the merkaba kind of body by closing the first three chakras, activating the top three chakras. That's the merkaba body, because that's your navigation vessel of accessing higher states. It's your mat. Okay. So second step is that you're clearing the merkaba body. In order to come into a merkaba body, you have to clear as many layers of your body as you can from debris. Debris is unconscious thoughts, unconscious belief systems, anything that's not true. Okay. And how do we define what's true, what's not true? What is most in alignment with nature, with the whole, with harmony, with the harmonious balance of this collective whole, the universe, the natural flows of life and death. So that requires a little bit of a deeper understanding of what that really is, because the ego is always thinking about survival and self-preservation. So that's the other preparation work that we have to do. Okay, working with the ego to integrate into one, to be able to align with these natural flows without interfering in that flow of nature. And what will happen essentially is that when you're going to bed and you clear your debris of all these unconscious parts of you, you come back to the true self. That's the true self that you want to take into dream state. Okay, so that true self is the one that when he starts to wake up consciousness in the dream realm, in the construct, he's going to know why he's there. And it's going to be very clear, because dreams are not just fantasy lands. Dreams are past lives, they're future lives, they're simultaneous constructs in which we currently exist. And we are doing stuff there. We're making agreements with other people. We're making agreements with, our other aspects of ourselves. People can be having hybrid babies. People can be, healing people, saving people. I mean, you name it. There are many constructs and many levels in which we navigate. These programs of 20 and back programs and military programs that are utilized by the government are utilizing this process of lucidity and dream state to hijack humans into also some of these parasitic programs, militaristic programs. That's a very real thing. And so that's why we have to be able to discern when you wake up consciously, what are you doing? How did you end up here? Was there a subconscious manipulation that brought you into this space? Did you make an agreement to experience this in another unconscious state or another unconscious life? So yeah, so in other words, waking up consciousness in dream state is just like waking up consciousness in our waking state. We're integrating all the fractals of ourselves in order to become one again. And that's what you're doing. That's the real purpose of the dream realm. So to answer your question more concisely, clear your body morning and night, right? Continue that spiritual preparation. And when you're sleeping, your goal is to wake up lucidity and to utilize the training of your intuition to discern the navigation in that dream state. And I guess the movie The Inception, I think it did a really good job. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but if I remember correctly, it did a really good job to for the people have to remember all of the other dream constructs in order to remember what they were doing there. Remember, it's like he said, oh yeah, now I was supposed to take this from you in order to do this, right? So that kind of memory is the activation of your multidimensional memory, essentially. And that builds your light body really, really big, really strong. If you can come into these realms and be conscious in waking state and dream state, your light body is so strong because you're able to access these higher dimensional aspects of yourself. Does that answer your question?
Totally. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that question. So exciting. Can't wait to hear what happens next. Maria, do you have any questions, love, about the dream class? Are you here? How has your homework been with your dreams? Have you been able to become conscious in dream state? Oh no, we lost her. Okay. All right, so we'll wait if Maria wants to come back, because she was really anxious to come to this class today earlier. So let's see if she can connect. Okay.
You were talking about like the light body. So
Yeah.
ultimately, we want to really cultivate our light body. I mean, so we can access higher level, whatever information. Is that the essence? So in that way, when we live in this reality, we can have the highest expression. Is that what you?
Yeah, so ultimately, there is no end goal, okay? This is the funny thing. There is no like defined end goal because incarnation in the physical realm is really about the experience. Okay? But we're kind of waking up consciousness and becoming aware of the architecture of this construct. And as we become aware of the architecture of the construct, we kind of understand what the rules of the game are, okay? And so essentially to wake up consciousness in waking state and the dream state means that you can tap into free will, which is not something that is freely available to the human unless the human is aware that they have it. Okay, so what does that mean? That if you're not aware that you have free will, if you're not aware of how the rules of this game are played, essentially we keep cycling in certain programs over and over again. And you know, everything has a purpose, but in the big picture of it all, as soon as you wake up consciousness, you will shift. That's like, it's a very real thing that is happening, that if you do wake up lucidity in this lifetime and you apply that free will, that you can direct not only yourself but your fractals, which remember are interconnected to all of us, pulling forward this organism into a higher state of operation, which is more harmony, which is creation. So if you were to say that the human has some ultimate goal, it's that they access that infinite potential for creation. Okay, so that's the bigger picture. So now let's talk about our lives, right? Okay, so how does this apply? That you can come in to be a creator, essentially, that you get to create your life you're not created by your life, right? Because what
Mm.
happens when you're created by your life is that you, in a sense, we go into the, cycles of victimization and helplessness and survival. That's what we're playing. But the moment that we come into that free will, now you can create. So now, and this is what will happen to you guys, is that as you're, a lot of you are experiencing this, but you start to experience these miracles and synchronicities, which is not just a joke. It's not just some fantasy. Truly, 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 you begin to experience that you have a tremendous amount of power over this construct. And you really can manifest what you want, what you need, how you need it. But if you operate at that higher state, it will come in alignment with that. It's a completely different thing. It's not from the ego. And trust me, you're not going to want material wealth. That's just a byproduct that will come for you. But if you operate at these higher levels, you're manifesting and truly creating for the real world, which is the organism moving into its higher octave self. Yeah. And so every human, essentially, we kind of have a purpose based on everything that our ancestral lineages have chosen to bring forth the manifestation of your soul at this time. So you are designed and equipped. If you can break the code of why you were brought into manifestation, you can quickly come into your own free will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the code? The traumas, right? You unpack those traumas, those limiting belief systems that keep you in survival state. You break those, and you, in a sense, become free. And free will, free navigation, to be able to create. That
One
I
of the
would say, yeah.
because one of the things that you make me pay attention, because for every trauma or whatever the negative emotional limiting belief, you ask me to look at also the opposite of it, right? What is the real truth? What is the opposite of whatever that negative belief? So I've been kind of like examining that, and yeah, it's kind of like a profounding. I go, oh, so that's the real me, you know? So.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah. So this is where that film, The Matrix, in a sense, really is interesting, because what it says is that you're waking up from one construct to another construct, and you're like, wait a minute, this is the real thing. And so what happens in this stage is that you begin to see how everything is very deeply inverted in this world. I mean, the way that we've been indoctrinated, the way that we're socially engineered to see things, the way that we see family, ourselves, it's completely upside down and inside out, And so when you start correcting those things in yourself, this reality is completely different. And it's very easy to quickly discern distractions from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now not only are you a conduit for this infinite potential, but you're directed intentional potential. That's really important, because what happens is sometimes people tune into this information, they get stuck, they get lost. It has nothing to do with the sensations or seeing, aliens or really cool things. Nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with intentional intention, directing this potential with intention. And refining your intention is the hard part, right? To refine why you're doing things, what you're doing, and to understand the consequences of that, because that requires a lot of responsibility. And the more awake you are, the more responsibility you're going to be accountable for, essentially, because now you cannot go back to sleep and say, oh, I didn't know that. You do know. So you know how your words affect people, things, and everything else.
Yeah, so come with great power, with great power come with responsibility. Yeah, because it's interesting. It's like, ever since I got divorced, I thought, hey, I'm single. Yeah, I can free to date and do all this thing. Oh yeah, you can meet all this single woman and all this thing. But I realized when I raised my consciousness, those things are no longer important, right? I don't care. Okay, I don't care to, yeah, have one night stand or do or go date. It's like this inner driving force, I go, you know, if I'm going to be with woman, I want to be with like a queen, right? And I start asking, what is the quality of the queen? Oh, the quality of the queen is that she have the love for people. She have a certain purpose, and she want to better the kingdom as a whole, you know? And
Yes.
it's that's kind of like the inner driving force, and that's what I noticed the difference, you know.
Beautiful.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's different levels to this.
mhm.
And I will tell you in preparation, the higher you go, the lonelier it will feel. It's an
Yes.
illusion.
Okay.
Okay, it will feel lonely because the circle of people that you can relate to with that level of responsibility of what you're doing will become smaller and smaller each time.
Mhm.
But the thing is this, and this is the thing that, you know, all of us have the invitation to do at this time, that more people are coming to this level now. More people,
Mm.
slowly, they're moving. So in the next 10 years, it's going to be a completely different world, or the beginning of a different world. You know, so we're kind of, you have to be courageous and remember again that you're not lonely. And, you know, the part of us that wants to have that, you see, we yearn for the unity, right? The
Mhm.
unity. But um, when you quench the thirst for that unity within you, it's, you're not even going to look outside, but you will align with those that are going to be working side by side.
Mhm.
And, you know, relationships in this new world look like something very different. We have to erase the old world idea of relationships, and that's very hard, very hard. You know, I'm very aware of that. But it's more of a completely unconditionally loving collaboration, as you mentioned, because
Mm.
for a queen to be selecting something that's good for the collective, it means that, you know, the expectations, the subconscious expectations that we have as men and women, they don't really apply anymore, because those expectations are built on another construct that no longer supports collective unity. And that's the hard truth that we need to wake up to, right? We're dissolving the old paradigm of these belief systems. So yeah, well said, Charles. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick? Now listening to Charles talking about the Queen is so interesting because, well, I have always synchronicity, but yesterday I was reading the Sophia Code, and I picked a random page and I started reading about Isis, and she talks about when she was she learned from Hathor, but anyways, she became a queen of Egypt, and she was working on creating the golden age, which is what they want us to do right now, right? So,
Right.
but yeah, all what Charles is saying about the queen reminds me of Isis and what she did, right? And she accomplished that. That over time, you know, it changed, but now our mission is to do the same.
That's
And
right.
thanks to the queens.
That's right. That's exactly right. And all of us have that Isis within us, right? Because that's a representation of the divine feminine, the feminine being the connection to that divinity, to that intuitive part of us that is healing now. We're healing. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Let's see if Maria can tune in now. If you can, you unmute yourself, Maria? If not, you can type into the chat your questions. She says, feeling unconditional self-love and acceptance is such a bliss, and I feel so complete. That's beautiful. Thank you, Maria. Did you have any questions about the class by chance? I'm trying to unmute. Okay, no problem. Take your time. Take your time. So while Maria is unmuting, just really quickly, I am posting part 2 of this lucid dreaming class. Now, you and I have one more call that we're going to take, and I'd love to schedule that with you guys now, but I'm looking at January this 22nd as my next, the evening of January 22nd at 6 p.m. same time, to do our second call and follow-up call. There you are, Maria. Welcome.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No
Yes, I
problem.
am so sorry. I don't know what happened. Yes.
It's okay.
Okay. I go ahead, Geraldine, finish, and I will ask my question later.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, so we'll do the next follow-up call on the 22nd. For the next call, I would just love for you guys to set up, so, you know, you're going to have the replay. Those of you that have not access to replay, some of you that have attended today still haven't access to replay. I know Siobhan says she has to finish watching it too. But as you all catch up to that and do some of the homework, you know, it's important for you to train these techniques so that you can get some results. So on the 22nd, we'll meet again and we'll do another recap like today. And maybe people that haven't been able to attend today can meet us with us then. And we're just going to take things to the next level, answering questions about, you know, navigation, body preparedness, all of that stuff. We'll go deeper into that. And then I have scheduled for February 3rd, part 2 of this Ascension training, which really discusses the bigger picture as a soul and why we need to do lucid dreaming, which I kind of went into a little bit today right now. So I'll be going deep into that. Also, this year is going to be really important for this kind of training. I tend to find that I get information and calls to do these topics, usually in preparation for the way that the energies are going to fall into place in the next coming months and years. So, you know, those of you that are in alignment here with us in this groups definitely are kind of in alignment with this preparation for what's coming. So I'm happy to share that with you. Okay, Maria, what's your question?
Okay, the question I have, when you mentioned about, I'm doing exercises and I find them extremely helpful because with the awareness, I discover really who I am and what I want, what is my desire. With the intuition, is incredible. I mean, it works wonderful. I just stop and think, and it really works. I mean, I'm amazed. So I'm doing the journal too. And when I was doing a meditation, I was trying to shine the light upon someone, but I couldn't. I couldn't get like the picture of the person. It was very strange. It worked with different people, but what happened there? I couldn't really shine the light into this person. It was. It was, and I like refused. I'm like, no, and I'm like insistent, but I couldn't really shine the light. I couldn't see the contract with this person.
Okay. I'm going to do an entire class on contracts because it's a pretty in-depth topic that we need to talk about. But okay, so is this a real person or
Yes, it's totally
it's a
real
living
person.
that you interact with? Okay, so
Correct.
here's how contracts and your intuition work. So first of all, let's clarify what light are we using to discern. Okay, so because
The crown.
right,
Yeah.
because the 7th and the 8th, that's the crown mechanism, because
Yes.
these are the systems of manifestation. This is where the non-physical becomes physical. So your
Okay.
infinite potential life or source cord becomes materialized into this crystallized body of the physical. So that's a huge portal. It's one of the most powerful vortex junction points of energy in your body. When this becomes blocked, we have problems. Okay, so how does this become open? Just really briefly, I was talking about it earlier when I was answering Greg's question about clearing the root chakra. The more we come out of survival and connect with intuition, the more this opens up. Okay, so the next step is that what will happen is that in this chakra exists the vibrational frequency. So over here is your, let's say, your cosmic DNA. Okay, your DNA, that is a combination. The 8th is the cosmic DNA, the 7th is the DNA of the earth and you as an organism. Okay, so the morphogenetic field intersects within the 7th and the 8th chakra because that's where it receives the data from the DNA to create the physical body and then all the experiences you're going to be having out of body. So what that means is that what that produces is a vibrational signature of your essence in this physical vessel.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
for
Yeah.
example, you're going to have a color up here that is a pink, okay?
Yeah.
And a pink and a gold, a pink color, whatever color you have, is very specific information, not only of what you're healing right now, what your body needs in order to ascend into its next vibrational octave, but also as a soul, where you're at in your journey. Okay, so first of all, it's important to understand what color you are here. And how you identify that is in meditation, as you're doing your work daily, you can only identify that by closing your first 3 chakras and open your heart, throat, third eye. You can't have any interference from down here, okay, to allow you to see the real color. So when you use that color, once you identify your color, and if you have a hard time seeing your color, you can come to me, I can help you identify what it is. But you put that color up into your crown, and you want to align it with all areas of your life. Why? Because again, as I mentioned before, you are intentionally directing infinite potential. That's really huge.
That's how I actually learned, because I did the meditation that you have with the crown. So that's exactly how I did it. So I knew my color, and I was shining my color. But if for some reason it worked with other people, but with this person, I just couldn't see it.
So sorry, and the reason why I'm explaining this is just for others in case they didn't know this information.
Yes, of course.
Because why? Because your vibrational signature is what attracts you to the people that you interact with. Okay, so that's kind of what I was getting at. Because when your vibrational frequency is at a certain resonance, let's say your color is pink. Okay, what is pink? Pink is that your organism needs unconditional self-love. Okay, you need that. That is what you need to heal what you're dealing with in your life at this moment. Excuse me. And so what happens is that when we put that up, you slowly come into resonance with others that are in alignment with that frequency. Right. You're going to have opportunities to experience challenges that will challenge that. And essentially, with the people that come to you, you need to discern what you're doing with them. Okay, so when you shine your crown and you see a contract, and the contract is small, it's a small little contract. It can look like a book, a piece of paper, it can be a tiny scroll, whatever it is, whatever feels real to you. This means that you have some agreements, you have agreed, but those agreements were made on temporary vibrational frequency that is part of your evolutionary process. Okay, which means that you can learn from this person, you have something to learn from them, but they don't have the best interest. You and them don't really have the best long-term interest in each other for your highest expression. Okay, so at that point, when you dissolve that contract, the person will become very less interested in you energetically, and they will simply just fall away naturally. When there is a big contract, you guys have a lot of agreements. These usually show up for family members, relationships, new relationships, past relationships, past lives. When it's really deep, the contracts will look like roots, and they will connect into your energy body down into the lower bodies. Okay, so like husbands, mom, dad, those contracts are really huge. Okay, now if there's no contract and agreement, a lot of times these are kind of like passing essences, kind of like, I don't want to say entities, but like beings that are more of a parasitic nature. And so at that moment, you have to discern what you want to do with this individual. Now, it's an invitation to look at why you are attracted to the person. Okay, if your attraction to the person comes from the lower nature, this is just a general example. It can be lust, fear, needing security, even elements like jealousy, comparison, competitions, things like this with the other person. We won't see those contracts. Those contracts, it means this person really does not need to be in your space, and we need to eliminate our connection with that person as gently, compassionately as possible, if you don't want to go into that agreements. Okay, so a lot of times when people don't see agreements, it's pretty people that are kind of toxic in our lives, you know. But you're only going to be able to discern that if you're very aware of where you're at. Okay, so if you can think of this person, and you think of the history of the relationship, would you say that this relationship is something that's coming to an end with this individual, or something that needs to pass on?
I think that's probably, yeah, it seems like it has to, come to an end. Yeah, that's how I've been feeling it. Yes.
Is this
Mhm.
somebody that you have been with a long time, like a close family friend?
Yeah, for like 5 years. Yeah. So,
Five
yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So usually the other individual, when there's no agreement, it means that your time with the person is done. Okay. And essentially, uh, you have learned everything you need to learn from them. They have learned everything they need to learn with you. And so it's important that that's why we should shine our light on every person that we meet. Doesn't matter
Yes,
who, because we want to get clear. This is part of that lucidity where we're talking about,
yes,
you know,
yes.
what we're doing with these people. Why,
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to do, because after, the second class, I was trying to do that with everyone because I wanted to get clarity, and I saw, yes, and that's when I
So
stopped
great.
there, and I've been trying, and it just didn't see anything. So I was wondering what's going on. So I was thinking, okay, maybe this is the end or something. Yep. Yeah. But I also believe the universe removes the people, like you said, when your vibration changes, the person who doesn't resonate with your vibration just moves away.
Yeah.
Just yeah, I've seen
And
that.
they will
Yeah,
absolutely. But
yeah,
we kind of want to go into exercising our free will, and that's
correct.
harder. It's actually harder because it's easy for us to just allow the universe to take it away. But to be honest with you, if you consciously choose things, uh, you know, you're exercising that ability to discern. And sometimes other people are not ready to leave us. Sometimes they really want to
Correct.
stay there. And
Yes.
sometimes we have to sever those connections to help them grow as a soul. Actually, we can severely slow down their progression if we hold on to that relationship because they don't want to go. So it's important to be
Correct.
awake and to choose
Yes.
consciously, what we're doing.
Yes, yes.
Because
The other question I had is, I was doing the lucid dreaming, so I've been doing the journal, and I was aware in my dream, I got like hypnotized with this meditation, so I know I was dreaming, and in the dream, I started doing the G-Pack in the
wow,
dream, and I was
consciously.
like, yeah, consciously, and I was like, I know I'm in a dream, but I want to do this because I do the G-Pack every morning and every night. And I start doing it, but I couldn't because it's something like this energy pulled me and woke me up. It was
Wow,
quite interesting. Yes.
interesting, interesting. Okay,
Yes.
so how are you doing your G-Pack? Walk me through.
Um, I do the grounding, alignment, no, protection, alignment, and what do you call it? Co-creation. But what I do, I surrender because I think it's the best way because I know. So I do resonate with what you said. I always done that. So when you surrender, you really open yourself to do what you're supposed to do. So,
Exactly.
but what was interesting with this is I was aware, and I had a lot of dreams, but I don't know, it's like this, I felt a little noxious too. I was like, I was getting nervous, but I say, no, this is a dream. Like I was telling myself because I was getting nervous because it was pretty deep. And I was getting noxious. And it's like, no. And I'm like, no, this is a dream. I'm keep, repeating myself in the dream. This is a dream. And I can control this. Then I start doing the G-Pack. And that's when I woke up because it was like, I felt that energy pulling me.
I understand.
So
Okay,
that's it.
okay, awesome. Beautiful example. So excited. So here's what happened. It's the emotions. Okay, and I mentioned about this. It's the
Yes.
emotions. So this is how powerful emotions are. So first of all, okay, I guess I should really make sure I stress this, but as you are in your dream state, please take some time to observe your surroundings. calmly,
Mm.
calmly. Observe where you are, to accept the surroundings first. And a lot of you, that happens naturally. Like you know, sometimes you just dreaming, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is a dream. And then, okay, but if immediately you are in the dream and then you start, and there's a little part of us that starts to judge in some way or apply meaning, which triggers this feeling of anxiety and doubt and unsure of what we're doing, if we're safe or not safe, is it good, is it bad,
Yes, yes,
immediately your vibrations shift. It's heavier.
yes,
So this is a wonderful example for everybody
yes.
of what happens when we shift frequency through the emotional body. Because when you
Wow.
entered the dream, you were in one vibrational state.
Mhm.
Now, and this is part of, it's like training wheels, right? It's like training wheels. So
Mm.
as soon as this is why regulated nervous system is the key to interdimensional navigation. Because if you can
Mhm.
have a really strong regulated nervous system and you train in that vipassana stillness, and you carry that throughout your essence every moment of your day,
Mhm.
when you enter in the dream state, we're also going to carry that stillness and that observation, which will allow discernment. And you might even learn different energy tools. I'll give you an example. One time I entered into this realm, beautiful planet, futuristic universe, I don't know, beautiful place. And what I realized is that in this universe, their laws were slightly different. That the connection is not to the physical body, because there is no physical body there. We
Mhm.
were just mostly light beings. And what it means to ground for us, to be in the physical body, is not the same in this dimensional realm.
Mhm.
To ground means to be aware of yourself as this infinite potential. And so the mechanism of that is to bring the essence fully into awareness, but not attached to any physical vessel. Okay, so it's a different construct. And I went into this realm many times. The first time that I'm grounding myself, I left immediately, because to ground in our bodies is too heavy for that
Mhm.
dimensional realm. Okay, so we'll leave it. So these are things that you pick up intuitively. That's why discernment is so important.
Mhm.
And so the reason, and this is what the next class is going to be about. Okay, so what are dreams for? Okay, we're going to be talking about that. So you know, you may have entered. Can you describe a little bit about the realm that you were entering into, Maria?
You know what? I'm trying to
You can
remember.
remember, yeah. Anyway,
I didn't really, you know what? I was more worried about being protected than, really looking around. That
right
was
there you
yeah,
go. That's
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And that's, I was like,
Okay.
okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm here, but I saw two people that I know
Uh-huh.
in the same dream, and I start shining my lights. Like, why they here? I was asking myself in the dream. I know these two guys, and I said, what are they here? So I shine my light, my crown, and they disappear.
Aha. Very
This,
interesting.
yeah, was very
Okay.
interesting because I started to discern. Okay, why are you here? What are you here? What is the message or the lesson? And I shined the light, and they were gone. Because I had like, I don't think they were real. That's what in my dream I was thinking. My
Sure,
mind,
sure,
yeah.
sure. Excellent example. Yeah, beautiful. I'm so glad that you brought it up. And so this is like level 2 of actually perfect segue into our next class, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So once you're in the dream, once you're lucid, what do? The whole point is to kind of observe. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
again, we are never going to travel anywhere that is not in resonance with us. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. And sometimes it's really hard to accept, because some of us are going to end up in little Draco reptilian lands. Okay. And so we have to be able to navigate those parts of us. And
Yeah,
again, for that requires a regulated nervous system. Okay.
yeah.
Just like in waking state. But I will tell you that once you understand why you're there, your life will change. This is
Mhm.
next level. If you think the healing work that you're doing in your meditation is strong, wait till you see what happens when you become conscious of what you're doing in your dream
Wow.
state. Because this is like working on another level. Okay. And you really come
Okay.
into alignment with, I tell you once again, I don't believe in purpose, but you know what you're here to do as a soul becomes
Mhm.
very clear to you because you're already doing it in dream state. That's the
Yeah.
thing. All of us, we're already doing them, our missions, as you can say, in dream state. Yeah. So Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you.
All right, beloved souls. So this comes to the conclusion of our first Q&A. And of course, if anybody else has any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.